All right, Bellator bantamweight, Brett Johns. Has it sunk in yet? Is it weird hearing that at all?
Do you know what? I think funny you saying that really, because I spoke to Josh Thompson and John McCarthy today, Big John, and I think that's when it kind of sunk in a little bit. You know, I'm finally here. I signed back in October last year, but I can't wait to fight underneath this new banner. You know, I'm a veteran of many different promotions, but I'm really happy to finally be here. I was a big fan of this promotion way before I'd even gone into the UFC or gone into Titan FC. You know, I loved the fighters such as Douglas Lima, Michael Chandler, all these big names. But yeah, it's really nice to be here.
And explain the move to me a little bit, because I think it caught a lot of people off guard. You know, sometimes we see fighters switch promotions, but when a guy like you, who's like a rising, somebody people think is going to be a contender, you know, you've been in big fights already, jumps ship, I guess. Can you explain that to me, why you made that shift?
Yeah, so basically in a nutshell, we looked at after the contract was finished, we looked back on our career with the amount of fights we had, with the people we fought, and financially things didn't add up in our mind, you know. So we got in contact with the UFC and renegotiated the next contract, and they didn't feel like maybe I wasn't worth that money. They personally didn't feel like, but we knew I was. And we look at the other guys in the division. There was a couple of fighters who had the same amount of fights. I won't name specific names at the time, but there was a fighter there who was 5-2 in the UFC, such as us, but I didn't feel like he fought the caliber of competition that I personally did, and was on about $20,000 more. So I felt like, and so we approached the UFC with that, and they turned around and said that they weren't willing to pay the money. So obviously we tested the waters of free agency, and Bellator come up, and I haven't looked back since.
There you go, man. And do you think sometimes fighters like have the wrong idea, that they kind of pigeonhole themselves, maybe not look out for their best interests? Because like I said, you know, I think it's very rare to see this, but you must not be alone. You must not be the only guy that runs into that issue.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I'm a strong believer. I like to think that I've got a veteran mindset at the age of 29 years old on a pair of young shoulders, you know. But yeah, it makes me think, you know, I've got a family, and I want to create a bigger family, and you kind of, as fighters, you got to kind of put your ego aside and start thinking about the future. And I have some big plans in my personal life, opening my own gym and all these different things. And you know, financially that needs to be supported, and thank you to Bellator, I think I'm in a position where I'm able to do that.
And you enter a rebuilding division that's got a lot of contenders all of a sudden out of nowhere. So does that excite you coming in here and seeing that there's so many guys that are surging, that are making their debuts from other organizations?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I'm looking at the top 10 in that division. And that's the funny thing with this promotion. Everybody was asking me, who do you want to fight first? But I'm not here for a short period of time. I want to be here for the rest of my career, obviously. Obviously, if things don't work in other ways, I understand. But in my mind right now, my home and my final home will be at Bellator. So when it comes to the top 10 in that division, I'm prepared to fight every single person in that top 10. So look, there's some huge names out there, some big names. And even the guys who are outside the top 10, now they're starting to get stronger as well. So you know, we got a tough fight come Friday night, but I'm more than prepared.
Yeah, it should be a good one, man. And not the fight that you originally signed up for, though. Danny Sabatello stepping up on short notice. When Matos went down, was there any hesitation in your mind, like, you know, taking a young, hungry up-and-comer that's pretty good? I just don't think people necessarily know him as much, and fighting him.
Like, funny enough, Danny is a former Titan FC world champion. I'm a former Titan FC world champion. So, and believe it or not, I'm a big fan of domestic MMA, not just the big cards. So he's been on the radar for a while, all fairness to him. And I've been watching his rise to the top. And yeah, he's really good, you know. Stylistically, this is completely different to the Mateus Matos fight, in my opinion, where I feel like Matos was more of a Brazilian striker. Danny's more of an American wrestler. So yeah, there's a lot of different variables, but this camp has been 18 weeks. It's been a long camp. And in that 18 weeks, it's not as if we've just concentrated on one specific things. We've worked on all areas, and that's why I was able to accept the fight straight off the bat. So I want to thank my coaches at SMMA who have really changed my mindset professionally. You know, even the side of the weight cut in as well. I've changed a lot of things around. This pandemic hasn't been the best for a lot of people. But for me personally, it's been a big learning curve.
Yeah, and the man that holds the belt. I know you're motivated by Danny, the fight on Friday. The man that holds the belt in this division is Sergio Pettis. I'm sure he's been on your radar for a little while as well. Are you excited to maybe someday down the line fight him for the belt?
100%. There's no secret of what I want to do. It's to win the belt. You know, obviously there's been a big financial gain from this, but I am come here just to win fights and win money. Obviously, I want to be the best in the world. I've won 2 world titles in other organisations. It'd be nice to have that third wrap on my waist. And the eyes are on Sergio Pettis at the minute. The whole title picture could change in the next, year and a half. But at the minute, I think he's got that target on his back that everybody's going to be aiming for. And I'm hoping a win over Danny Sabatello is going to put me in that top 10. Maybe another fight, and then fingers crossed we can get that Pettis fight.
Yeah, and last one for me on Friday. What first impressions are important, right? So what does your first impression in Bellator look like?
Yeah, man. Look, this isn't an easy fight stylistically with Danny Sabatello. This is a tough little fight. I think styles make matchups, and his style and my style are very, very similar. But I think I can get the job done. I'm feeling very fit at the minute, and I feel like my wrestling is stronger. I think Danny is a very good wrestler, and if this was freestyle wrestling, maybe Danny would get the edge. But MMA wrestling is different, and that's where I thrive.